G'day everyone. Welcome back to the ICC Jimbo channel. Now this has to be addressed. This just has to be addressed. Australia losing to Zimbabwe by 23 runs. We only got 2 wickets against them. They batted sensationally, they bowled sensationally, and they fielded amazingly, the Zimbabweans. And their fans should be very happy with the way that they performed. It's great for international cricket, but why does it have to happen to Australia? And it's just unfortunate. And injury crisis continues. Marcus Stoinis could be ruled out. Could it be a broken thumb? Could it be fractured? Will he play? I don't know. No Steve Smith. And is that costing Australia? I believe it is. And let's just go through the game. Let's just go through what happened. So Australia, we won the toss. Travis Head won the toss. Still no Mitch Marsh. Travis Head won the toss, elected to have a bowl first, which was a strange decision considering it's Sri Lanka, and I would rather bat first. And Zimbabwe started sensationally. They had a really good power play. No wickets lost during that time. They got about 50 odd off that power play. They batted well. They got fours. They ran twos. They did what we did against Ireland. And there was no power hitter there. So you're thinking, all right, try and stop them from getting to 180 plus. We should win this game. Even though we didn't get the wickets and we didn't bowl that great, to be honest with you. And we'll get away with this game because of the fact that they're Zimbabwe. No offense to them, but they're Zimbabwe. They're not going to defeat Australia, right? We're one of the best teams in the world. And then, so they got 169 and they hit 1-6 during that innings. And heaps of fours, heaps of twos, which is the way you should play in Sri Lanka and Colombo and in those conditions. And then you're thinking, all right, we should win this game. Let's just make it easy. We won't need Stoinis because he won't come out, most likely because he's hurt himself. So we'll win this game before that. First 2 overs, there's a wicket gone for Inglis, which was it a good decision to play him based on form alone? Was he the best keeper available for Australia? My opinion? No. I think Alex Carey may not be a T20 player, but I mean, he played well with the strikers, didn't he, at the end there? And for the Big Bash, and he's the best keeper in the world. Just sitting there at the moment playing Shield. Why would you not play him? Well, more on that later. So Inglis goes out, and then Cameron Green with a soft dismissal, which shouldn't happen. And you can tell he's not confident at the moment. He had a really tough summer in the Ashes, and then it's carried over to T20, unfortunately. Tim David, same result, duck off 2 balls, which he's returning back from an injury, which, again, is that a bad... Was it good to select him into the squad, considering he's hurt and coming back from an injury? Well, we'll see what he does later against Sri Lanka and Oman, and that will really determine if it was a good decision or not. Matthew Renshaw and Glenn Maxwell got 70 runs. Matthew Renshaw got 60 odd. He did really well, didn't he? He got 60 odd runs. Maxi got 30 odd. They got a partnership of 70. But the run rate was already 10 and over. We were 4 for like 20. Travis Head chopped one onto the stumps. Forgot to say that. Travis Head chopped one onto the stumps. I think it hit his leg or foot and then straight into the stump. So that's an unlucky dismissal. He actually looked good. But yeah, Maxi and Renshaw, they were cruising along. And then Maxi wasn't timing him well. But we were cruising along and we still, confidence there, 60 off 30, really should be done in T20. And then Maxi goes and everything just goes sideways, doesn't it? Stoinis didn't do great, but again, he was hurt. So what can he do? And then after him, it was into the tail, and it was just pretty much Renshaw. Renshaw was our last hope at winning this game, and then he fell. But it's not his fault because it's very difficult to win a game with one person only showing up with the bat, you know? So, yeah. Renshaw played the conditions like Zimbabwe played the conditions, and that's how you should play in the subcontinent in Sri Lanka. And yeah, what's a Ben Dwarshuis, what's a Nathan Ellis, Zampa and Kuhneman going to do? They're not going to get 60 runs off the last two to win. So, yeah, Sri Lanka conditions are not ideal for the Aussies, clearly, are they? We were exposed a bit in Pakistan, and I was saying that it was a B grade team, and yeah, we lost to a Zimbabwe, which is just unacceptable. And I think this is on the selectors, really, because why would you not pick Steve Smith, who's in career best T20 form, got a ton easily against the Sydney Thunder, carried the Sixers to the Big Bash final, mind you, without Smith Day not making that Big Bash final, and he looked alright in that Big Bash final as well. So why would you not put him into the Australian squad? He's an expert player at spin. He's an absolute freak. He's got a cricketing brain, which is genius levels. Albert Einstein of cricket. And you're not playing him. Why? You know? Why are you not playing people based on form? Steve Smith is on his way to Sri Lanka now. He's touched down in Colombo as a replacement for another injury, unfortunately, which was Mitch Marsh, who got testicular bleeding, which is just nasty. And I don't know if he should play for this World Cup. If it's that and it's bad, he shouldn't play. So Steve Smith is there, ready to go. First thing you should do is, since Hazlewood has been ruled out, we haven't named a replacement player. First thing you should do is straight away say, Steve Smith has entered the squad. Steve Smith will play the last two games for the groups to try and get us into the Super 8. Steve Smith is playing for Australia. That is the first thing that they should do, and I think they will. I think Steve Smith will be added into the squad. He'll play against Sri Lanka, and he'll play against Oman. Has to be done, doesn't it? Has to be done. He can't just be sitting there as a replacement player. He needs to play. And he's in career best T20 form. Why isn't he there? He'll have his little black elastic things on his face to stop the glare, but he'll be there and he'll play for Australia. That's what has to be done if we want to make it to the Super 8s. Second of all, the scenario to get us through, I didn't think we'd ever have to deal with this scenario thing. I thought it'd be pretty easy. We'd win all of our games and we'll go through to the Super 8s. But this is the scenario right now. Australia need to defeat Sri Lanka and Oman to go through, with net run rate as well. So that's one of the scenarios. I'll read them all out here. Scenario 1, Australia defeat Sri Lanka and Oman. Sri Lanka defeat Zimbabwe. Ireland defeat Zimbabwe. And then Australia and Sri Lanka would progress. Another way, Australia defeat Sri Lanka and Oman. Zimbabwe defeat Sri Lanka. Zimbabwe defeat Ireland. Australia and Zimbabwe progress. Scenario 3 would be Australia defeat Sri Lanka and Oman, with the net run rate being decent against Oman, which is likely, to be honest. Sri Lanka defeat Zimbabwe, but Zimbabwe defeat Ireland. Then Australia would progress with Sri Lanka due to the net run rate because of us smashing Oman, which if we don't smash Oman, then we really don't belong in the Super 8s. And the last scenario would be, which is the one that you don't want, and the mathematical scenario would be Sri Lanka defeat Australia, Australia defeat Oman with the net run rate boost if we smash them, Sri Lanka defeat Zimbabwe, Ireland defeat Zimbabwe, Australia and Sri Lanka would progress. Now, what's more likely to happen? I think the most likely scenario would be scenario 2, and Australia would go through due to net run rate. And then Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe would be pretty much a sudden death to see who goes through with us. I think we'll pull our head out of the sand. We'll go through to the Super 8s. We'll defeat Sri Lanka, I reckon. We'll defeat Oman. And if we want to take this World Cup seriously, then the first thing you should do is straight away put Steve Smith into the team. That's got to happen, as I said earlier. So Steve Smith will play, try and get us through his expert player spin. And here's another question now that I'm going to ask. Alex Carey, currently playing Sheffield Shield for South Australia. Why isn't he here? I know that he's not the greatest T20 batsman in the world, but he's the greatest, well, not greatest of all time, sorry, that was too far yet. But he's currently the best keeper in the world, had a sensational Ashes series behind the stumps. Why isn't he in the T20 side? He doesn't, we shouldn't be picking players for Sri Lanka based on power. Let's pick him based on skill. Inglis is a great player and should be there as a reserve. But he's out of form. And this is the problem with this squad. Inglis out of form, Maxwell out of form, Connolly out of form, David returning back from an injury. That's 4. Marsh injured. 5. Travis Head not the greatest with T20 at the moment. 6. You know, Green is not confident at all. Another one. I know it'll be difficult to replace all these players, but for Inglis, I think Carey should have come in. You know, and what else? Yeah, Smith, Carey, straight in. That's what should be done. Renshaw retains his spot. Green goes out, and you bring someone else in. I'm not sure at the moment who would it be. Just trying to think. It'd be someone like in Jack Edwards, for an example. You bring him in for a Green because Green's been out of form and needs to take some time in the Shield. And I never really rated him as a Test cricketer, but as a T20 batsman, I do rate him, but he's just so out of form. It's just insane at the moment. So we need to address these things immediately. And Travis Head said at the end of the game in the press conference, hey, this has happened to us before in the ODI World Cup. We will try and get through and let's do what we did in 2023. But the difference is no Cummins, no Hazelwood, no Stark. But yeah, Steve Smith will be there straight away, and I think you'd hand him the captaincy. I think Travis Head wasn't good enough as captain against Zimbabwe. He sent 2 reviews up that weren't there. It hit the hips, and it just wasn't good enough, to be honest with you. And Steve Smith is, as I said, I called him the Albert Einstein of cricket. He's a genius with cricket, and it's either Smith captain or Head is still captain, but he's listening to Smith. So Smith's basically running the show. So yeah, that's what needs to happen for the Aussies to progress through. And could it be too little, too late? Absolutely. And you can't blame Steve Smith if he plays poorly against Sri Lanka because he hasn't had. He was playing golf the other day, live golf in Adelaide with Nathan Cleary and Ryan Pappenhausen. Well, what's he supposed to like? You know, he hasn't had the chance. So I think that's on George Bailey and the selectors for not picking him immediately. And the Australian public agree with this. The Australian media agree with this. We all wanted Smith to play. I think he deserved it. People are like, oh, you're rating him off Big Bash, blah, blah, blah. He's still in form. That's the point. He's in form. Unlike a lot of these players at the moment. But yeah, a reality check against Zimbabwe. It could cost us Super 8 qualification, which would be pretty embarrassing if we don't make it. And inevitably, I think we'd go out in the Super 8s. We just don't have the team at the moment. But yeah, if we don't make the Super 8s, that's pretty embarrassing, to be honest with you. We really should be making it with Sri Lanka. The group is easy enough for Australia to make it. And we shouldn't have lost to Zimbabwe. That was just unacceptable. We're now 0-2 against Zimbabwe in World Cups, T20 World Cups. And yeah, it's just unacceptable. We really should be beating them. And I think we any other day if we showed up, we'd win. I think everyone would agree with that. But Zimbabwe, they came with a tactic and they outplayed and outsmarted Australia. And we've got to go back to the drawing board and figure it out quickly because Monday is going to be a huge game for Australia against Sri Lanka. It will really determine what's going on. If we lose to Sri Lanka, it gets mathematical and we don't deserve it, pretty much. So, yeah. I send it off to you guys. What do you think? Will Australia make it to the Super 8s or not? But yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And to be honest, I'm in shock. I've been thinking about this all night. I didn't get much sleep. I'm just in shock, because no one in a million years would have thought this would have happened to us. I was laughing at England losing to the West Indies, and now they're going to be laughing at me, and rightfully so. Australia deserved to be trolled after that. And the fans are just so we're all in shock. We don't know what to say. I reckon this is the biggest upset in World Cup history for cricket. Absolutely it is. And none of us know what to say. We're all in shock, disbelief. Do I think we'll make the Super 8s? Yes, but I'm in disbelief. I think the Australian public will there be changes needed for George Bailey, for an example? People have been calling it a boys' club for a bit. I don't think it is for Test cricket, they're moving on from people like Usman Khawaja, which needed to be done a few years earlier. But yeah, maybe it's happening with T20 as well. Maybe we need to move on for some players like a Glenn Maxwell, who's been sensational for Australia throughout these years, and start looking at the youth for the 2028 World Cup and the Olympics. Although Smith will be playing in the Olympics, he said that he will, and it would be pretty disappointing if he's not there. But yeah, we need to be looking at Big Bash talent and picking them. And yeah, they'll be ready for international cricket. Play those players during bilateral series. That's the point of bilateral cricket, to try and improve players ahead of ICC tournaments. And that's what we really should be doing for ahead of this World Cup. We were playing Mitch Owen, which is not bad, although he's out of form, so it wouldn't have done any difference. Your Mitch Owens. Who else was there? Matt Short, although he's not amazing, but he was playing as well. You know, those type of players who are hanging around. Those players will be in the 2028 World Cup squad. You know, they'll be playing in the XI. This is probably the last rodeo for Glenn Maxwell and probably Stoinis as well. Will Cummins be there? I don't know. Will Hazelwood be there? Probably not. Marsh? I don't know. Head? Probably. But yeah, it's going to be it could be a difficult few years for Australia as we go into a transition phase in this format of the game. So yeah, I send it off to you guys. What do you think will happen? Will Australia make it to the Super 8s? Monday night's going to be entertaining against Sri Lanka. That will determine it. It will be the game of Group B, and if Australia win, then Zimbabwe, Sri Lanka will be just as good. So yeah, congratulations to Zimbabwe. Huge win for them and huge win for cricket. But as an Australian, I'm heartbroken because why has this happened to us? Like, this is not acceptable. And yeah, questions need to be asked. Matt Renshaw did well, but everyone else, Maxi wasn't timing him, but got the runs. So yeah, even if we won, I would have been saying it's been a bad win, if you know what I mean. I would have said poor win, but a win's a win. But obviously not going to happen as Zimbabwe defeated Australia. And yeah, we're now, our World Cup is hanging by a thread. It really is do or die now, and we've got to treat this seriously and got to take it seriously, or else we're going to be out. So yeah, I call it off to you guys. What do you think will happen? Will Australia make the Super 8s? Thanks for watching, and until the next one, cheers. Hopefully I don't have to make another... If I have to make a video for Australia versus Oman and Australia losing, oh my, that will be just a rant, I think. But anyway, thanks for watching. Till the next one, cheers. Go Aussies. Let's make it to the Super 8s.